Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Film Rewind. This is the show where we make you feel old, where we look back at the movies of yesteryear, and we talk about movies celebrating their 10, 20, and 30-year anniversaries. But let's pause on that for now. Before we hit rewind, let's fast forward now. Let's talk about movies coming out this month, in October 2022. I'm not going to mention every movie that comes out this month, only the ones that stand out to me that I'm anticipating seeing. First one we'll talk about is Amsterdam. Well, not much to say about the film. I watched the trailer and it looks good. I've heard good things about it and I'm excited to see it. The other movie I'm excited to see this month is Halloween Ends. I've said this before. I love Michael Myers. I will always look forward to seeing a Halloween movie. Okay, so this is the final Halloween movie. But this is supposed to be the final Halloween movie in this series. So if you don't know, in this Halloween timeline, this universe, or whatever you want to call it, it's the original Halloween, Halloween from 2018, Halloween Kills, and now Halloween Ends. In this universe, the other Halloweens didn't exist. So in this universe, in this Halloween story, original Halloween, Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. Those are the movies in this universe. I've enjoyed this series so far, and I look forward to seeing the final one. I don't believe for 1 second that this will be the final movie. I believe this will be the final one for Jamie Lee Curtis. They will definitely reboot this movie. They may reboot the story and have a different person playing that character, but they will definitely reboot this movie. Finally, Black Adam. Black Adam is the latest in the DCEU, the DC Cinematic Universe, the DC comic book movie universe. I can say I've not been a fan of the DC movies as of late, with the exception of like Wonder Woman and Aquaman. To me, they've been a dumpster fire mess. And this is not me being a Marvel shill either. There's definitely complications sometimes with the Marvel stuff. I've been a huge fan of the Marvel movies up until recently. The last few things they've come out with have not been the greatest. But there's no question the MCU is way above the DC so far. And I hope they get better. I want them to get better. DC needs to do something to get their name back, to get their franchise back. But this one looks fun. I love The Rock. Even though he plays the same character in a lot of his movies, I am excited to see Black Adam. Okay, so those are movies coming out in October 2022. Maybe one day we'll talk about their milestones if they celebrate the 10, 20, 30 anniversaries, but we'll see there. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. Let's rewind 10 years to October 2012. I'm going to read off the movies coming out. I'm going to read off the movies that came out in October 2012. Frankenweenie, Pitch Perfect, Taken 2, The Paperboy, Argo, Here Comes the Boom, Seven Psychopaths, Sinister, Alex Cross, Paranormal Activity 4, Chasing Mavericks, Cloud Atlas, Fun Size, Skyfall. Alright, so those are the list of movies that came out in October 2012. What stands out to me? Pitch Perfect.
I think we're gonna be awesome.
Released October 5th, 2012. Directed by Jason Moore. This film has a pretty big cast, so if you want to see the whole thing, you have to look it up. But it mainly follows Anna Kendrick, Brittany Snow, Anna Camp, and a few others. So, first things first, disclaimer. I did not see this when it came out. I didn't see this movie till about a few weeks ago prepping for this video. It came up on the list, and I knew it was a popular movie, and I'd never seen it, so I decided, you know what, let's just watch Pitch Perfect. Let's see what it's like. So I sat down and watched this movie, thinking it was going to be terrible, and I ended up loving the movie. It was a good movie, and I even watched the second and third ones. I learned with a song on TikTok.
I got a new life. You would hardly recognize.
This movie was funny, it had good music, and it was just a good fun movie, and it was just fun. So sorry it took me a decade to watch this movie, and good job. Alright, Pitch Perfect has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 81%, making it certified fresh. Audience score of 83%. That's a pretty high rating from both critics and audience. Now let's rewind again, another 10 years, to movies celebrating their 20th anniversary. Turning 20 today, October 2002. Let's read them off. Red Dragon, Bowling for Columbine, Brown Sugar, Knockaround Guys, Pinocchio, Pokemon Forever, Punch Drunk Love, The Rules of Attraction, The Transporter, Tuck Everlasting, Abandon, Real Women Have Curves, The Ring, Frida, Ghost Ship, Jackass the Movie. Okay, so those are the movies turning 20. What stands out to me? Okay, so there's two stands out to me. The first I want to talk about is Jackass the Movie. Alright, I'll press it again. Released October 25th, 2002. I was in high school when this movie came out. I can't believe it's turning 20 years old. I was in high school when this movie came out. I can't believe it's been 20 years since Jackass came out. I was a big fan. I was a big fan of the MTV series Jackass, as many of us high school boys were at that time. I mean, this show inspired me and my friends to make stupid videos. We didn't do anything level of Jackass level stupid. We just, silly stuff that teenagers do. I don't think we were brave enough to do the crazy stuff that Johnny Knoxville and his buddies did. So, fan of the show. This movie came out and had a lot bigger budget. Just this year, the fourth Jackass came out. Still 20 years later, and they're still doing stupid. But I've not seen the fourth one yet. I was never a fan of the gross stuff that Jackass crew did, and I've heard there's a lot of that in this movie, so I haven't got myself to watch the fourth one. Now, I haven't seen the Jackass movies or the show in quite a long time, so I can only look at this with my nostalgic glasses on. So, I had a good time then. I don't know if I'll have a good time now. But what did the critics think? Jackass the movie. Rotten Tomatoes score of 49%, so that makes it rotten. Audience score of 75%. That sounds about right for a Jackass film. This is not a critics kind of movie. This is a fan movie, and I'd see the audience score of 75%, and that makes sense. The other movie I want to talk about is The Ring. Released on October 18th, 2002, directed by Dor Verbinski. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but we'll see. Starring Naomi Watts, Martin Henderson, David Dorfman, and Jane Alexander and Brian Cox. Jane Alexander and Brian Cox. So this movie stands out, not because I really enjoyed it, but I have a traumatic experience watching this movie. So the premise of this movie is there's this VHS tape. So if you watch this tape, it's a creepy video. You get a phone call and it says you have 7 days. That's all it says. So it means 7 days until you die. I don't remember the entire gist of the movie, but that's pretty much the point. The part of this movie that stands out to me is the entity. When it crawls out of the TV, that was really creepy. Watching this for the first time was a creepy effect. It was pretty cool. Obviously not your real TV. It was a TV in the movie, but you get my point. But what was my traumatic experience? So I watched this movie back in the day with my mom. We watched this movie, and as soon as the movie ended, she called my cell phone, a little flip phone at the time, and it scared the crap out of me. I threw my phone across the room, and it was a very traumatic, well, not traumatic, really traumatic, but it was a very memorable experience. But what did the critics think? Score of 71%, audience score of 48%. So the critics liked this movie more than the audience. That's it for 2002. Let's rewind again, another 10 years to films celebrating their 30-year anniversary. October 1992, Glengarry Glen Ross. Hero, The Mighty Ducks. Of Mice and Men, Mr. Baseball, A River Runs Through It, Under Siege, Candyman, The Public Eye, Dr. Giggles, Pure Country, Reservoir Dogs. So what stands out to me? Well, again, there's two movies that stands out to me. The first, The Mighty Ducks, released on October 2nd, 1992, directed by Stephen Herrick. Again, I do not know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but we're just going to press on anyway. Emilio Estevez plays this lawyer. He gets in trouble, gets a DUI, and gets served community service, and where he must coach a hockey league full of misfit kids that, typical 90s, sports movie, geared towards young kids. I was a kid when Mighty Ducks came out, so yes, I love this movie. I have seen all the Mighty Duck movies. I have not seen the animated show, and I have not seen the reboot show series, whatever it is. I have not seen that, but I did see all the original trilogy. I have not seen this movie since I was a kid, though, so I don't know if it holds up today, but I will say the Mighty Ducks turns 30 today, and that hurts me inside. So what were the ratings? Rotten Tomatoes score of 21%. Audience score of 65%. All right. The other movie that stands out to me is Reservoir Dogs. While this film was released at Sundance in January of 1992, it did not get its wide release until October 9th, 1992. Directed by the legendary Quentin Tarantino. Regardless of what you think of Tarantino, you can't deny his status as a filmmaker. Well, this was his first directorial film, starring Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, and Tarantino himself. Well, obviously, I did not watch this movie when it first. Obviously, I didn't watch this when it first came out. I was 7, and there was no way I would have got to watch this movie when it came out. I didn't watch it till way later, until I was an adult. This film is about a group of. They've been brought in on a job, a diamond heist. None of them use their names. They use colors like Mr. Pink, Mr. White, Mr. Black, I think Mr. Blue. I can't remember all the colors in my head off the top of my head, but you get the gist. We never get to see the heist, however. We see them meeting at first in a cafe, which is an awesome scene. Where they sit around the diner talking. They go to the diamond heist, and then we cut to after when there's. It didn't go right. There was problems. Some of them are already dead. Some of them got shot. The scene that really stands out to me is the stuck in the middle with you scene. It's very disturbing yet entertaining. It's graphic. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go watch it. But be warned. I like it because I am a sucker for one-shot scenes. He's playing the song. He goes out to the car. The camera follows him all the way out to the car. Comes back in, and it's just I love one-shot scenes. Anytime there's a one-shot scene in a movie, it's always gets me. But what do the critics think? Reservoir Dogs has a Rotten Tomato score of 90%, so it is certified fresh, and that is perfect. Audience score of 94%. High rating, and it deserves it. That covers today's 10, 20, and 30-year anniversaries. However, today, we do have a bonus. Turning 40. Released October 22nd, 1982. First Blood. Directed by Ted Kotcheff. Again, I have no idea if I'm getting those names right, and I'm sorry if I've got it wrong. Starring Sylvester Stallone, Richard Crenna, and Brian Dennehy. The first of the Rambo franchise. It follows John Rambo as a Vietnam War vet coming to a town to see a friend who he finds is dead. Well, he gets harassed by the local sheriff who does not like his look. This brings out PTSD and flashbacks. It's a great action movie. It's a great Vietnam movie. It's a great veterans movie. But what do the critics have to say? First Blood, certified fresh at 86%, audience score 85%, and that is about right. Well, that's it, everybody. That's it for today's anniversaries. I hope I didn't make you feel too old. Until next time, be kind, rewind, and happy Halloween.